Hey everyone, welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that's, let's be honest, on every Angular developer's mind, performance. If you've ever wanted to take your app from kind of sluggish to absolutely flying, then you are in the right spot. Let's get into it.
So let me ask you this. Does that loading spinner just stare back at you, almost like it's mocking you? Or, when you click on something and it just feels a little sticky? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, then you're definitely in the right place. Because we are going to get to the bottom of what's causing that slowness, and we're going to fix it.
So what's the big bad guy here? Well, 9 times out of 10, it comes down to this one thing: Angular's default change detection. Just think about it. Every single time anything happens, a user clicks a button, some data comes back from an API, a timer goes off, Angular by default checks your entire app from top to bottom. The whole thing. I mean, it's super thorough, but man, is it inefficient. And understanding this is the key to unlocking some seriously massive performance wins.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle change detection. That's the big one. Then, we'll get a handle on asynchronous data. After that, it's all about smarter app loading. We'll even check out some advanced tools, and we'll wrap it all up with a quick checklist. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, first up, tackling change detection. And look, I'm not kidding here. If you only take away one thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. This is, without a doubt, the single biggest performance win you can get in Angular.
So just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got the default mode, which is, well, it's just chaos. Any event, anywhere, and Angular checks everything. But on the right, we have the on-push strategy. This is where you get to be the boss. You tell Angular, hey, don't you dare check this component unless one of its inputs actually changes or if an event happens right inside of it. It really is the difference between screaming in the library and whispering a direct command.
And the benefits here are just huge. You're basically giving Angular permission to completely ignore entire sections of your app. Think about all the work it doesn't have to do now. This also kind of forces you into writing better, cleaner code using immutable data, and it works beautifully with things like RxJS and the async pipe. It's just cleaner, faster, and way more efficient.
Okay, here's another huge performance killer: lists, specifically NG4. Without TrackBy, if you have a list of, say, 1,000 items and you just change one of them, Angular might literally destroy all 1,000 DOM elements and recreate them from scratch. I mean, how wasteful is that? But when you use TrackBy, you're giving Angular a little hint, a unique ID for each item. That way, Angular knows exactly which element changed, and it only touches that one thing. The takeaway here is simple: always, always use TrackBy with your lists.
Okay, next section. Let's talk about mastering asynchronous data. Now, we all love RxJS, right? It's incredibly powerful for handling stuff like API calls, but, and this is a big but, if you're not careful, it can be a major source of memory leaks and performance headaches.
This right here is probably the #1 mistake I see: manually subscribing to an observable. The second you do that, you've taken on a responsibility. You have to remember to clean it up later. And if you forget, well, that subscription just hangs around forever, eating up memory. It's a classic memory leak. But the async pipe? The async pipe is your absolute best friend. You just use it in your template, and Angular handles everything, subscribing and, crucially, unsubscribing for you when the component is gone. It's just so much safer and cleaner.
And beyond just the async pipe, there are a few other RxJS tools you should have in your belt. You see that messy pyramid of nested subscriptions? Avoid that. Use an operator like SwitchMap instead. If you absolutely have to subscribe in your code, please use a pattern like take and tilde to make sure it gets cleaned up. And share replay? Oh, that's a lifesaver. It stops you from making the same HTTP request over and over again. Super useful.
All right, so we've tuned up our components. We've tamed our data streams. What's next? Well, now we got to focus on that all-important first impression, the initial load time. And really, this all boils down to one simple idea: sending less code to the user's browser right at the start.
And you know what? The good news is that Angular is already helping you out a ton here. It's called Ahead of Time Compilation, or AOT. It's on by default in your production builds, and what it does is it pre-compiles your app before it ever gets to the browser, so the browser has way less work to do. It's a huge reason you get a smaller, faster app right out of the box.
But we can take it even further with something called lazy loading. The idea is so simple and so powerful.
Why make a user download the code for the admin section if they're never going to visit it? So what you do is you package up a feature into its own module. Then, in your routing config, instead of loading it normally, you use this special load children property. You just point it to the module, and that tells Angular, hey, don't download this code until the user actually tries to go to this route. It's brilliant.
So why does this matter so much? Because the impact on your initial load time can be absolutely massive. Your main app file that the user downloads first becomes tiny, so the app feels like it loads instantly. All the other pieces, they get fetched in the background as needed. It just creates a way better experience for your users.
Okay, we've nailed the fundamentals. Now it's time to get into the advanced stuff, the real power tools in our optimization arsenal. These are the techniques you pull out when you've got those really specific, really tricky performance problems to solve.
So if you're using Angular 17 or newer, you have to know about signals. They are an absolute game changer. They give you this super fine-grained way to manage state. So instead of Angular checking a whole component, a signal can tell Angular to update exactly one word in a paragraph. It's surgical. And then you've got defer blocks, which is like lazy loading on steroids. You can now lazy load just a single heavy component on a page, like a big data chart, without needing a whole separate module. It's so cool.
And the toolbox doesn't stop there. Got some really expensive calculations happening in your template? Use a PurePipe. It's like a smart cache. It only recalculates when the input actually changes. Got some heavy processing that has nothing to do with the UI? You can run it outside of Angular's zone, so it doesn't trigger a bunch of pointless change detection. And for the really heavy lifting, you can offload that to a web worker, which is like running it on a whole separate thread, so your main app stays buttery smooth.
All right, let's bring it all home. We're in the home stretch now. This is our finishing touches section. Think of it as a super quick, rapid-fire checklist to make sure you've dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's.
First up, the basics. Make sure your build optimizer is turned on for production. It's a simple flag. Next, your images. Please don't ship giant multi-megabyte images. Use modern formats like WebP and lazy load anything that's not on the screen. And finally, memory. Always clean up after yourself. Unsubscribe from observables, destroy your subjects. These little things add up to make a massive difference.
So, to wrap everything up, here is the ultimate cheat sheet. We've got onPush to slash change detection, TrackBy to make our list super fast, lazy loading to shrink that initial bundle, and of course, the new hotness like signals for hyper-targeted updates. Seriously, keep this handy. It's your guide to making any Angular app absolutely fly.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground, everything from the absolute basics to some really advanced techniques. So now the question really goes out to you. After seeing all of this, what's the one optimization you're excited to try out first? Which one are you going to ship tomorrow? Thanks for tuning in.